Hi, everyone. Welcome to Waste 360's Nothing Wasted podcast. On every episode, we invite the most interesting people in waste, recycling, and organics to sit down with us and chat candidly about their thoughts, their work, this unique industry, and so much more. So thanks for listening and enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. This is Liz Bothwell from Waste 360 with Josh Cohen, founder and CEO of Junk Luggers and Remix Market. Welcome, Josh, and thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
So please share with us a little bit about your background and how you found yourself on this quest to rid the world of junk in a responsible way.
Thank you. Actually, our new tagline is saving the world one lug at a time.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you. I got started. Actually, June will be 15 years, which is crazy. I started when I was 21 years old, and I was drinking box wine around a campfire during a study abroad in Australia. And a friend said he made $100 hauling away neighbor's refrigerator. And I thought, hey, what the heck? That sounds like a great idea. Why can't I do that and earn some extra cash? I had an internship lined up that summer when I got back, but I knew it may not pay all the bills or just another opportunity to do something. So I kept thinking about it. As soon as I got home, I just went to my parents' computer, printed out some flyers. 21-year-old college student wants to help you haul away your junk and then donate to Goodwill, recycle as much as we can, and then bring the rest to the dump. And I just started going door to door, handing it out to my neighbors, and I started to pick up business. I was using my mom's Dodge Durango SUV to get started and charging $50 for the first carload, $30 for each additional. And it really, my love for the business and understanding that it was so much more than hauling junk really happened right away when I started to work, hand in hand with some of our customers who are going through some major transitions in their life.
Oh, wow. And then I've read somewhere that your first customer was an older woman who was grieving the loss of a spouse or something.
Yeah.
And then you realized how important the value of her possessions were, right?
Yeah, that was one of my first customers. And she's an elderly lady. Her family was all, not living locally. And she had the job of, all right, we got to downsize now. I got to clear out all of these memories from my basement. And, when I went over to her house, I was going over at 6 a.m. before my internship started. And then, at the end of the day, hopefully before the sun went down, and we were just taking out boxes and boxes of all these things that, she had stories behind and she was talking about with me. And you could see it in her eyes, how much of a difference it made. I was listening, and that's a skill that we share with all of our service professionals who are in the field. And then I was taking care of the stuff. So avoiding as much of it just being thrown away and basically throwing her memories in the trash. I was really trying to do the opposite. And that was a really, pivotal point for me in the business.
Oh, I bet. Wow. What a learning experience. And I've read that you have this big, hairy, audacious goal of keeping 100% of items hauled away out of landfills by 2025. Do you think that's still doable?
I do think it's doable. It's definitely big, hairy, and audacious. And if there's anybody listening to this podcast who thinks that they can help, we're looking for all the help we can get because, we're not getting necessarily one or two consistent types of materials. We get all kinds of stuff, and a lot of it's bulky. And we're just looking for more and more ways to divert things from just being thrown away. We've started, and we have a number of initiatives that are really pushing the needle, though. Some of the simpler things like we have designated not a processing, but a sorting center at our facility where we separate specific items, such as mattresses, which we collect in bulk and then recycle properly, electronic waste, computers, laptops, cell phones, all that stuff, metals, plastic, paper, and cardboard. We mostly just work with a couple of facilities that force our people when we go out to dispose that we're actually separating items properly. And then, of course, we track our progress. And then the other big initiative that we've taken over the past few years is we started something called Remix Market. It was really something we started out of my brother-in-law's driveway doing weekend tag sales, because what was happening is that one of the big pieces of our business, and it's really what's been part of our mission since we started, was donating as much as we possibly can, right? Because then somebody else gets to use it. It has a second life. And what we've been finding, and we've been franchising across the country now, is that more and more donation centers are full. They're picky. They don't want something that has a scratch on it. And so we decided to take matters into our own hands a bit more and say, hey, we got all this good stuff here. We don't want to just throw it away. And we don't have enough options of where to bring some of it. So we opened up our own facility, which has now expanded into multiple locations with some of our franchise partners. And our flagship store here is about 12,000 square feet. We're really just, we're just repurposing items. We do have a restoration center where we restore, furbish certain pieces. And then we just sell them back to the community. We donate a portion of all proceeds to local charities, which really, again, aligns with our mission of enhancing lives, the community, and the environment by donating, recycling, upcycling, and supporting local charities. So it's right in line with that. And it's been, all of these things together are ways that we're pushing the needle to achieve our big audacious goal.
Oh, that's fantastic. And speaking of goals, you've had impressive growth in the last few years, and it sounds like franchising is a huge part of that. So are you in markets all across the country?
Not yet.
But you're
looking
aiming
for great franchise partners across the country. Yeah, we're growing. We're growing aggressively, and we are now in about 60 territories or 60 markets in the country. Our goal is to triple that just within the next year or two.
Oh, wow.
And so we're just looking for great partners who can be good business people, are coachable, can follow a system, but also have kind of that fire in their belly and want to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves.
Right. Okay. Oh, good for you. And so I figured you would be a great person to ask this because I feel like you started at such a young age before a lot of these technological tools and innovations were in play. So you've had a bird's eye view of this technological adoption. How do you think technology has changed or improved your business over the last 15 years?
Well, first it was door to door, handing out flyers, but then we really got into direct mail in a big way. And I'm sure as a lot of listeners on your podcast can attest to, while we still feel direct mail is a piece of the pie, we've really, on a marketing end, gone very much focused on digital, and there's so many ways to do that. So it's forced us to grow or die. And so We've had to, like many companies, really understand what that means and how to get the name out there online. So I think that's one big way. In terms of technology in general, when we started, I think Gmail was just coming out. And so our first official software program after pen and paper was Google Calendar, which is still a great tool. But what I've seen over the last, a bunch of years is that there are so many more great software opportunities, third-party software options out there than there ever were. And we're really leveraging the ability to use those to pivot from one to the other as we see other advantages, and to connect them through APIs to use the best systems for each type of thing we're trying to achieve within the company.
Sure. And then you mentioned marketing and kind of moving to digital, and I know you've credited some of your success to a really integrated marketing plan. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely, yeah. And it's something that we talk about a lot with our franchise partners too, right? Because I think what I hear from a lot of people is, well, we're online, we have a website, or we run a Google AdWords campaign. But that's really only a piece of the funnel. And anyone in marketing knows that you have to be out there and you have to hit people multiple times in multiple ways to really resonate with them and get in their heads.
Sure.
And so that's what we try to do. And we use a combination of, when I say digital, that there's a whole bunch of things that play into that. But then we do a lot of traditional stuff. We're at events all the time, meeting face to face with people. We do a lot of direct mail. We do some radio in affordable markets.
Sure.
Looking to expand from there. And we still do a decent amount of guerrilla marketing, using our trucks. And we have these neon that really stand out for a reason. And so we'll do things like parking the trucks, waving to customers as they drive by, taking pictures, throwing them on social media, and getting a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah. Your trucks will really gain attention. I see them on the roads and it always turns my head. So that was brilliant.
things.
Now, I have to ask, did you benefit from the Marie Kondo tidying up craze right after the new year?
It's hard to say. But we got a great article in the New York Times about junk luggers and Marie Kondo. And, I'm hearing about it more and more and more. We've definitely been using the Marie Kondo philosophy in some of our PR and social media posts and educational material to our customers. So, yeah, I guess without being able to quantify it, I'd say yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So back when we spoke to you in 2017, when you were one of our wonderful 40 Under 40 award winners, I don't even know if you realized it at the time, but I just gone back and read some of the interviews that we've done with you. You foresaw more regulations and limits on recycling coming. I'm not saying that you predicted the recent China or Indian bans, but you certainly had an accurate feeling that something big was coming down that will change how we deal with recycling. How has this affected your business?
Yeah, well, expense wise, it's been a big thing. It's, even just talking locally with our company location here in Connecticut and New York, we used to recycle for free, and now we pay for it at the same rate that we're paying for, mixed solid waste.
Uh-huh.
So it's challenging. It takes away some of the financial motivation for sure. It has brought some challenges. It's unfortunate, but I think that what I'm hoping for and what we're working towards at Remix Market is finding ways to repurpose as much as we can. And so again, just like with donation centers, this may require us to get even more creative and find ways to repurpose certain items that we used to just recycle.
Sure. You've been pretty active on social media, and I see you being helpful on sites like Quora. And you recently said that recycling has taken on a passive role in our lives. Could you talk more about that and what you mean by that?
What I mean by that is a couple of things. So I think that, over the last few decades, people got used to, in a lot of locations, but not all. And I'm actually surprised at some of the more progressive cities that don't even offer recycling yet, but are thinking about it. But a lot of locations, a lot of areas, they require recycling, right? So people got used to it, and it became a thing, and we have recycling bins now. But I think what I've seen is that the continuous education around what can and cannot be recycled, what happens to the items once you put them in the bin, and also just the importance of caring about it is just something that you don't really hear pushed. And I think that in order to, combat all of these things that we hear about in the news all the time about climate change and fossil fuels and all this stuff, it's just not on our minds because it's just so much easier to dump things in the trash.
Sure.
And I just don't think it needs to be that way.
And do you think education is key?
Yeah, I think education, but I also think we've basically gotten no recognition or support at any level from the government, from private businesses. And I feel like a business like mine and others who are trying to do things that are helping the environment and the community, we need more support.
Yeah.
And it can be really tough. And it takes a lot of willpower, which we have, but it takes a lot of willpower and also, investment to be able to create solutions that just don't exist now.
That's a good point. Hopefully that will change.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too.
You and Junk Luggers, you guys do so much for your local community. What types of charity work are you guys doing? Could you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, definitely. We've done a lot of stuff. So we have hosted an event to raise money for Make-A-Wish, where we had I think we had a couple hundred people here and raised enough to grant a wish for a child in need.
Oh, nice.
I'm a part of Make-A-Wish. I'm on the board here in Connecticut, and it's definitely a cause that's near and dear to my heart and many of the people in the company here. We also work and support Mikey's Way through our Remix Market program. It's another organization that helps children who have life-threatening diseases and delivers them toys and games directly in the hospital. And we actually have our staff and myself, we go on some of these visits and hand out toys to kids in hospitals. And kids still love toys, and especially, when they're stuck and they can't leave their room to get visits and gifts, it goes a long way.
Oh, definitely.
And we've done fundraisers for the Boy Scouts every year, where they'll have large tag sales like you've never seen. and then they need the other items picked up to either be donated or hauled away. We do a lot of community cleanups, parks and gardens and streets. So it's nonstop. It feels like we're doing things in the community, weekly. It's a nice way, not only to be a part of the community, but I feel fortunate to have the opportunity to use my business as a tool to give back.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. So you've spoken a lot about the importance of listening and making sure that you're doing that. And I know that you promise that the trucks will always be on time. So really service is such a part of your organization. How do you make sure that's instilled in your business as you grow and expand into all these different markets by franchising?
We do a few things. First of all, is we're constantly talking about our mission, our vision, our values. Our core values talk a lot about wowing our customers, incredible service. We have standard operating procedures within the company that hold people accountable, and we have accountability programs to get feedback from customers when we don't meet them, right? So we need to show up on time, and if we're not, you better call the customer and you let them know you're running late, because nobody wants to sit around and wait. And also we offer automatic discounts should we be late. But again, that's nice. Only about 5% of the time, but we value our customers' time, and we want to let them know that, both in the price and just, being courteous. We do a lot of training, and a lot of our training is starts with and ends with talking about the customer experience, ways to improve the customer experience. For instance, when you show up, look professional. We now wear collared shirts with a green collar because we're green collared professionals, and right. and the initial appearance makes it a big difference if you're trusting somebody to come in your home and work with your valuable possessions that you're taking away, your memories. We teach people how to look a customer in the eye, address them by their first name, shake their hand, present an estimate in the right way. Those are things that improve the customer experience and allow somebody to trust us in a way that they want to do business with us and they feel good about working with us.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I think the other big thing we do is we really put a lot of emphasis on the net promoter scores with our customers. And we survey every customer right after they complete a job. We have a great response rate. I think close to about 45% of our customers respond to the surveys. And if we do a good job, we have about a 90% net promoter score. Wow. We'll hear about it, and that's great. And we don't do a good job, we hear about that. And we have a policy where you need to follow up the same day with those customers. You need to report it back to us. There's actually stipulations in our franchise agreement where if your net promoter score falls below 10 points of the average within the franchise system, you got to come back for training. You're out of compliance. Take it very seriously. Yeah. And we also share reviews daily for all locations across the entire company to hold everybody accountable and to make sure everybody's aware of how each location is doing with their net promoter scores.
Sure.
Those are a few examples.
Oh, that's great, though, because accountability goes a long way.
Yeah. And you can't manage what you can't measure, right?
Exactly. So what's next for you and your businesses?
For us, we are ready. We are growing, and we are going to keep pushing that. We're talking to some very strategic partners who we're going to grow with and who are going to help our franchisees to add more jobs on their calendar. But we plan to expand in the top 50 markets within the next 2 years. So we're really focused on that, and we're really focused on improving the remix market model as part of our business model, and really making sure that that's well integrated into the whole system, because it really provides a well-rounded ecosystem for our business, right? We pick things up, and then we need places to bring them that meet our mission, ideally. Growth.
I love it. That's fantastic. So what does your mom think? I mean, helping you start, she loans you her SUV, helps you with the printer, and now a smashing success. What does she think about this?
That's my mom think. Well, I'll tell you what both my parents think, I guess. That's a good question. Well, I'll tell you, when I first told my father that I was quitting my job to be a junk man full time, I think his jaw fell to the floor. He couldn't believe it. He had helped me get that job at the real estate firm, and I was making decent money. Why would I want to, put back on my overalls and start schlepping around? I was using a trailer at that point to haul things. But I just told him that's where my heart was. I wanted to bleed green. And so I think that it took a few years for him to get it. but now that, they're both proud of me, and it's great. And it's been a lot of fun. And I think every time my parents come to visit, our headquarters here in Connecticut, they're really just amazed at, not only the vibe and the culture and the excitement and the spirit that you can feel around the offices,
Sure,
but just how much we've got going on. I think when they think back to me painting, hand painting and hand stenciling our first truck and our first trailer, to seeing, a fleet of 20 vehicles just in the parking lot here.
Wow.
And a call center that, it looks like a football field. I
Right.
think it's a little surreal to them.
Oh, I bet. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
they've watched the evolution. That's amazing.
Yeah, they've supported it too.
Oh, that's great. So what advice would you give to professionals entering this industry?
I think, my advice is, especially for someone who's not only entering the industry, but maybe entering like business for the first time or owning their own business. And I don't know if I can answer it that way, but
Sure.
yeah, I can tell you, first of all, you're in a great industry, right? There's a big demand for people to help other people with the stuff that they need hauled away, especially when you can do it in a way that is environmentally friendly and is friendly to the customer. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, I've had a lot of people who, even within the junk removal industry, there's a lot of people who've come and there's a lot of people who've gone. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners here can relate to that within their respective businesses. And, that's for a number of reasons. It's not just who's got the biggest piggy bank or who's been in business the longest, but it's about willpower and it's about passion. Yeah. And I have more passion for this business than anything else. And I eat, sleep, and breathe it. And if you want to be successful with whatever you're doing, that's the ingredients.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And that seems to be a common theme. And I think that's what makes this industry so special, really.
I agree. And I think it's often overlooked. And we are doing special things every day.
Definitely. So what else do you think we should be paying attention to in the world of waste and recycling?
At least in my world, I'm not in the everyday trash or recycling pickup. So again, I'm more in the random stuff that you have stored in your basement or your attic for 30 years.
Right.
Business. I expect that as natural resources continue to be depleted, as landfill and disposal tipping fees keep increasing, that there's going to be a need and a requirement for people to pay more attention to the things that we're doing and that some of my peers in the business are doing to divert items from going into landfills, of course. But I think with the challenges in recycling as well that we had just talked about, I think we're going to need to see a lot more solutions there in order to create a circular ecosystem where we can just keep reusing items again and again. And there's no reason that we can't keep doing that.
Right.
To a much, much higher level.
So how's your canine in chief doing? Is he keeping busy?
I'm looking at him right now. He's on his fleece blanket on my couch at work here. He's going to be 17 this year, and he is doing well. I think we all could learn from him about how to live a stress-free life.
I love that. And you have such a, like you mentioned, the vibe in your office and the feeling that people get even when they go to your website and look at your team. I'm guessing that comes from you and oozes out that way. Is that something you intentionally work on? Is that feeling and that culture in your office? Or is it more natural and then you attract that type of person?
I think it's probably a combination of the two. You know, I've been in business, like I said, for a while now. So again, like any of the listeners, business is an evolution. And sometimes we've had amazing cultures, like it's family. We've had times where the culture has actually gotten pretty sour and we've had to start over again.
Sure.
But I think, as we've been able to grow as a company, we've been able to also be more selective with who we bring onto our team and to attract really good talent. And I think that, for me, in the past, one of the mistakes I've made is going strictly after experience. And it's just never worked, no matter how much they've achieved, somewhere else. They got to be a good fit because you have to work with others.
Yes.
And you have to get people excited to work with you. And so I think that we've been fortunate. We've had some great hires. We have an awesome culture. We've had some bad hires. We've had to move them off the bus. But I think one of the things that attracts people when they come into the office is that culture and is is or is not a feeling like, hey, this is a place for me. And we have a pretty rigorous hiring process, a number of steps, and that allows us to really see if we're aligned in a lot of ways.
That's great. Good for you. I hope it keeps growing and you maintain that wonderful vibe.
Thank you.
So what keeps you busy outside of work?
I have twins. They're 4 years old.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. So they definitely keep me busy. And so they just learned how to ride their two-wheelers, and they're very proud of that.
Oh.
And we live near the beach, so we spend a lot of time at the beach now, riding bikes and just being outdoors, and I feel like I'm a kid all over again.
Oh, I bet. So good for the soul. That's fantastic. So how can listeners hear more from you and Junk Luggers? Where do you want to share your Twitter handle or your URL?
Sure. Yeah. Although I'm probably not as active on Twitter as I should be. It's Junklugger Josh. But I'm on LinkedIn, social media, Josh Cohen, Junkluggers. The website is junkluggers.com. We have a section there if anybody's interested in franchising. Just search for franchising and Junkluggers. And you can always shoot me an email, josh@junkluggers.com.
Oh, that's great. Well, this has been fantastic, Josh. Thanks so much for such a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.